Hello everybody and welcome to Adelaide Cup Contenders powered by Sportsbet, where we are going to take an in-depth look over the next 30 minutes at the race that stops South Australia and hopefully find the winner. That is the aim of the game. Who better to do so than Terry McAuliffe and John Kelton, the South Australian gurus here on Racing.com. Boys, what do we make of this year's edition of the Adelaide Cup?
Well, no, looking forward to it. I think it's fair to say it's not the race that it once was, but there's always a great story that will unfold. Even like last year, John, with Silent Sorrente winning for Will Clarken, Nicky O'Shea training in partnership back at that time, and I should say in the saddle, Rochelle Milnes denying Jamie Mellon.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. Even though the race's quality might be a little down on where it has been in previous years, it does open it up for the locals to have a real crack at it, and you don't have to look far down the betting order to see some of those local contenders. Speaking of betting order, let's have a look at the market for the 2026 Sportsbet Adelaide Cup. This market pre-barrier draw as well, punters, just FYI. Fascinating at the top, John, because in futures all-in betting, before we had final fields, Berkeley Square clearly favourite. Final fields market comes out and Highland Bling's on top. I don't really understand that, Tim, because both of those horses were always going to run. Nothing has really changed. And when the pre-post market went up, they all wanted to back Berkeley Square. He was clearly the best back runner. And now we find Highland Bling favourite. We'll see whether, when they actually jump, which one is favourite. I'm probably going to tip that Berkeley Square will get back favouritism.
And we look at the market, John, so we've got a long tail of runners. There's some runners when you do your markets you may not have a price alongside?
Once we get down to those last 4 or 5, I think that's a fair comment. But there's some in this middle page here that I'm giving a genuine chance to.
I think eventually, which we'll talk about shortly, $21 for the winner of the Lord Reims. That looks to be a big price to me, John.
One thing she appears to do very well is stay. She's got a fantastic record at once she gets past 2,400 metres, and I'd probably back her to stay more than most of the others in the field. If you're going to have a bet on the Adelaide Cup on Monday as well, on the day, make sure it's with Sportsbet, because races 1 to 3 run second or third and get a bonus bet back. So that's a good offer to use there with Sportsbet on Adelaide Cup Day on the public holiday Monday in South Australia. We just spoke about eventually the horse that delivered Sarah Rutton a terrific performance, winning the Lord Reims at its last start, one of the traditional key lead-ups to the Adelaide Cup, gents. Now, obviously this race features a host of runners. Sarah actually finished first and third in the race.
Yeah, Crimson Vine as well. So a horse that started its career with Sam Burford. Sam gave training away. He's still in the ownership of the mare, and it races in the Sam Burford racing colours. Sam actually had a runner in his own right in the Adelaide Cup when he was training, but you would have thought Highland Bling hitting the lead here, John. It was going to be Crimson Vine, if any horse that could get it down, but Highland Bling able to hold her, but then the stablemate over the top late eventually.
I know she was big odds, but I don't think it was any real fluke that she was able to win this race. As I mentioned before, her form once she gets out of these trips is outstanding. She's only lost once past 2,400 metres, and she was quite unlucky. And a couple of her wins have either been on rain-affected tracks and or carrying big weights. So she's a very tough mare. The other thing I like about her, Tegan Vorum is a very good rider of stayers. She's a very intelligent rider, and she plots her path through the field really well, especially on this horse.
Kayla Crowther will ride the other mare, Crimson Vine. Just with eventually, it's been a remarkable story, was with the McAvoys, who Sarah worked for so long. Its first 9 runs for Sarah Rutton, it was unplaced every performance. It's now won 6 of its last 14 starts, though, for Sarah. And it's a live chance, I believe, even at the big odds in the Adelaide Cup.
But we'll have to defy history, Tez. We know you love your stats. The winners of the Lord Reims at their last start, they don't have a terrific record in the Adelaide Cup.
No, I looked at the last 20 years. So looking back at the stats over the past 20 years for horses that have come out of the Lord Reims, then gone on to win the Adelaide Cup, Silent Sorrente did last year.
She's basically just about won, apart from having her head up on the line.
Just missed in the Lord Reims, running second. Realia for Lloyd Kennewell in 2012. Cape Cover ran third in 2010. Lacey Underall for Dan O'Sullivan ran fifth in 2008. And Exalted Time, runner-up in the Lord Reims, came out and won the Cup for Claire Lindop and Ken and Helen Smith and Jem Smith. But the last winner of the Lord Reims to do the double and win the Cup.
What year was it, Tez?
2001.
Horse?
Apache King, trained by the late Russell Cameron in the late Nick Moratis colours.
That's why you are the best in the business when it comes to statistics. Sarah Rutton's been a breath of fresh air to the training ranks in South Australia. It must be a real pinch yourself moment for the young horsewoman with 2 live chances in the Adelaide Cup.
They've both come through it really well. They've just been ticking over. They've been feeling quite fresh, which is always a good sign. Obviously, when they've just run a strong 2,600 metres, it's nice to see them come through it with a bit of bounce in their step. They've been to the lake a couple of times and just done their usual work in between their races. And look, I couldn't be happier with how both horses have come through it. I've probably been known to be more emotional when I've had times where horses have won, like Sunlight. When I've worked previously for Tony, I was always very emotional with those wins. It was strange when I became a trainer. I probably hadn't had the same type of emotion. It's more like relief and pressure, I think it is. And every trainer, I think, will agree with you that it's a release of pressure more so. But the other day, it was a little bit different. I think I was just so proud to see what this horse has achieved and to see the backstory behind her, the people involved. I was overcome with emotions. I didn't really think I would be that emotional, but I don't think I was really prepared. So definitely was a day to remember. I think they're both very super runs the other day, and look, going into an Adelaide Cup, you'd think they'll both be equally as good of a chance. Obviously, stepping up to 3,200, you never really know if both horses will run that out. But on how they run the other day, probably Crimson Lion with a bit of an easier run, I think you would see them both run it out strongly. To have two horses in South Australia's biggest staying race is just incredible. I'm just so proud of the whole team and the two horses. You know, I haven't been training for very long, so to be very fortunate to have two horses which are going to be two live chances is just beyond incredible. And I don't really still have words for it. It's just such a proud moment for me and for the whole stable and the whole team behind us that make this possible. But yeah, I wouldn't have imagined it 2 years ago if you would have told me I would have had two horses with live chances.
So eventually, for Sarah Rutton wins the Lord Reims, the traditional lead-up. Highland Bling was the horse who looked home for all money and eventually runs second. Let's focus a little bit on him. A great opportunity for Lockie Neindorf, who has been in sensational form, gents, since moving to Victoria for a second time.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, he's already won two Group 1s here at Morfordville for the Philip Stokes stable. And there's no denying, John, he's got an unbelievable chance of winning the Cup on Monday.
Most definitely. The stable really seem to know how to peak their horses for the Adelaide Cup. This horse has been on an Adelaide Cup campaign. And out of those horses in the Lord Reims, he's probably got more improvement than a few of the others. Lightly raced, went into the race second up, and we know that he ran a reasonably strong 3,000 metres in his previous prep at Moonee Valley.
Let's hear what Lockie Neindorf thinks of his chances aboard Highland Bling.
I think I can. Yeah, he had a nice first up burn around at Caulfield when I rode him, and then he went over, obviously, and running the Lord Reims, which is your typical lead up to the Cup, and ran very well. Only just got run over late on the line, but I am confident that he can sustain a gallop and that the 3,200 will be up his alley. So I think he's going to be in with a red hot chance. It typically for an Adelaide Cup field doesn't look overly strong, and there's nothing that you'd be afraid of heading into it. So hopefully he draws a gate and relaxes. They're probably the two key factors going into a race like that, and I think he'll be right in it.
I know he's based in Melbourne these days, but I think a win in the Adelaide Cup would be really special for Lockie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And just on Philip Stokes, he ran his first runner in the Adelaide Cup in 2020. Good idea, ran fourth. He came out and won it the next year. Then the following year ran second to the stablemate Dashan Sweet Jr. So, and Ahmad's run third and fourth since. Tara Mansour ran fifth last year. So Philip Stokes, he knows the right horse to set for the Adelaide Cup.
He certainly does. And how about Ahmad's run? That
I get a bit sore even
irons.
sitting in this couch thinking about poor old Zach Spain. I wonder if he's still limping. Unbelievable.
Changed his voice.
All right, let's have another look at the Lord Reims, because there are a second contingent of horses that finished a little bit further back in the field. Let's pay particular attention to a horse maybe like Samuel Langhorne at the back of the field there. John, he's only had a couple of runs. This was his second run for the preparation, so he resumed at Caulfield straight to 2,400, 2,600 metres second up. Is he a horse that you think might be able to improve getting up to the 2 miles?
I think the 2 miles is a little more in his favour than a few of his opposition. The other thing I'd note about this race, again, it wasn't really run at brutal tempo, so not that easy for those horses at the back to reel in the leaders. He got to the line pretty well as any of those horses at the back. As a form reference, I'm not completely sold at super form, but he did run well there. Kamachi, I've got a feeling he didn't see the 2600 out. It's going to take a great training effort from Will Clarken to step him up to the 2 miles. We know he was running well a few weeks ago, but this is a different ask.
Two good stables that you must represent, certainly, give great respect to. Michael Kent with Samuel Langhorne and Will Clarken with Kamachi.
Could be a huge day for Will Clarken outside of the Adelaide Cup. If he was able to win the Adelaide Cup, it would just be even better. Let's hear from Will.
Kamachi's come through his run, the Lord Reims, really well. He's just been doing a bit of easy work because he had a really hard run that day. So he's been doing a bit of work at the beach and here at the farm. I think we've just got in the horse's head down here at the farm. He likes the country environment. He needs to learn to win, and now that he has done that, he's turned into a terrific money spinner for the team that owns him. He's a horse that obviously has taken a bit of time. He had some skeletal issues in the UK, and he was picked out by one of my vets, Darren Arnold, who thought that we could train around them, and he has had some time, albeit he's had a few homes in Australia. He actually won a race in Darwin, so he's been well travelled, but he's found his home here, and he's really relishing the conditions. Obviously, Barclay Square is going to be the horse to beat. He's got the class and the rest of the field by a long way, but he has to carry a good horse's weight. He did that last start. But we're a bolter's chance. He makes his own luck in races now. He will roll forward, given the prize money and the back half of the field, I think it'd be really naive for us to be home in the box rather than giving it a whirl. We're realistic that he's going to be, a soft each-way chance in the race, but if he was to pull out an amazing run and be able to win the race, it would be a fairy tale story. Darren Arnold's one of my long-time best friends, and he's the majority owner of the horse, so that would be an amazing thrill to be able to win, our hometown cup for one of my best mates.
And finding lightweight riders for a lot of the field has been a little bit of a challenge, so Will Clarken and Connections have had to go far and wide, and they've landed on Lucy Fiore from Western Australia.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Do you know the background, John? I know you're obviously connected with the stable.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Managing owner Darren Arnold, now based in WA, whether he's got some contacts there. He's done an amazing job there. Equine vet Darren Arnold sourced the horse from Ireland when he was doing some work over there. Most of Will's regular riders have either got other rides in the race, or Rochelle Milnes, who could ride at the weight, is currently suspended. So their own pool of riders, they've had to go outside that to find someone that can ride that 53.
So Lucy looking to go one better than her dad, Justin Warwick, who prepared the runner-up Black Tycoon when I ran second to Outback Joe about 10 years ago.
Question without notice, but would Lucy have had a ride in South Australia before? Presuming not.
I think she has certainly. She rode here over the carnival last year.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, there you go. I've been outstatted. Hey, the Premier's Plate is one of the lead-up races before the Lord Reims. Let's have a look at that race and see what we make of it. Look, Kamachi, Crimson Vine eventually all come through this. What do we make of this as a form reference for these respective gallopers before the Lord Reims, Johnny?
First thing I've said a few times about this race is be very forgiving of the horses out the back of this race, because the race was run at just even tempo, and then Rochelle Milnes on Kamachi wound it up at the 600 and got the horses behind her working. Eventually, you can see there, she actually wasn't a bad last in the race. She was holding ground really strongly at the end, and you can see horses like her and Kirk Liston blew out the back. When given the opportunity over that extra distance, actually, they came out and excelled.
It's interesting you say that, John, because eventually in the Premier's Plate was coming off a break, and I did ask Sarah Rutton's partner, Josh, if they were disappointed she'd ran last, and Josh said to me, go back and have a look at the sectional. She's actually run really well.
Yeah.
They were more than happy with her. And then she came out and did improve and won the Lord Reims.
Hasn't Will Price made a good pact of moving back to South Australia already with a listed winner under the belt? He's got a good opportunity to ride in another feature race in the Adelaide Cup.
I'm riding Sentimental Flame for Travis Dowdle, so good to pick her up. She's obviously, probably looking for this trip right about now. And obviously Travis is in flying form, his stable. So good to associate with him again. And hopefully all going forward, things she puts her best foot forward.
Riding eventually in the Cup on Monday, I think she's in with a good chance. The field looks to be quite similar to the Lord Reims, with a few added extras in there like Berkeley Square and that. He's obviously got to carry the weight too, and we're right down on the minimum. So hopefully she can draw nicely, get a good run, and she'd be right in the finish.
Crimson Vine, I think decent chance. I think she definitely ticks the box that she'll stay the 3200. Really good in the wind, relaxes wherever you want to put her. She was really good the other day. Yeah, I'm happy with her.
I'm riding Checklist in Blue for Ros Day. It was a fortunate pickup. Unfortunate for Ben Price, but he's been doing all the riding on it. I'll have a chat with him. But genuine stay. I've had a couple of sits on it. Certainly, I think he'll relish the trip. And Ros is very good at having a horse that's cherry ripe. So I'm looking forward to the day. I'm sure he'll be run a cheeky race.
I'm riding a linear in the Cup. Look, we come here and won the 2400 metres the other day, and see if he'll get the trip. I think he definitely will relish the trip. Just because it just doesn't do anything early, and I think it'll be strong late. So I'm very happy with how the horses come up, and hopefully we good chance.
Good luck to the local jockeys hoping to put an Adelaide Cup up on the mantelpiece. We're going to take a quick break here on Adelaide Cup Contenders. As we head to the break, we're going to relive the 2009 Adelaide Cup, which was won by Zavit, who amassed over $2 million in prize money, you just told me, Tez.
Yeah, he was a good horse. My word, he was.
We'll see you soon.
Curdem second, then came 4D, followed by Spirited Express. Banana Man over on the inside, but Zavit's going to be too good in the Adelaide Cup. Zavit scored by 2 3/4 lengths. Sorrento turned into the straight, 3/4 on Newfoundland, Make Us Proud, Grand Piero, and then Golden State Warrior and Tara Mansour. Still Silent Sorrento defines them from Newfoundland, Grand Piero, Silent Sorrento in front. What a bold front running ride by Michelle Mills. Silent Sorrento from Newfoundland and Grand Piero. Oh yes, Rochelle. Silent Sorrento won the Adelaide Cup.
Oh, what a great victory it was for Rochelle Milnes, winning the Adelaide Cup aboard Silent Sorrento 365 days ago. We've had a look at some of the local contingent. Berkeley Square is right up the top in betting. In fact, he's second favourite. He's been a good horse for Dan O'Sullivan, who has a terrific record and association with the Adelaide Cup, Tez.
He certainly does. And look, Berkeley Square, I think he's probably here, John, though, for the breeder, David Peacock. It's racing in David's colours, and obviously he would dearly love to win an Adelaide Cup. He's part of the South Australian Racing Hall of Fame, David Peacock, for everything he's done for our industry here.
Well said, Terry. And listening to Dan O'Sullivan previously, this race has been on their radar for a while. And he's a class horse. He's carrying a big weight, but he's certainly used to carrying the weights in handicap conditions and spotting a lot of the other field that he meets, 5-6 kilos regularly. If he runs like that, he's got to take a lot of beating in the race. Chink in his armour, maybe 3,200 metres, given that he'll be probably back second half at best in the field. If he drew wide, he's probably going to think he's going to be back near last. But he's the quality galloper, and his career record suggests that he's clearly the class of the field.
So, Tez, horses that have had a run over 2,500 metres at Flemington roughly 2 weeks before the Adelaide Cup have got a really good record in the race.
Yeah, so the Roy Higgins, once upon a time, was programmed before the Adelaide Cup. We know it's been moved now towards the end of March, but this is the last 20 years, horses that have won the Adelaide Cup in their previous performance in the Roy Higgins. So, Good Idea was the most recent one, ran 5th in 2021. King of Leogrance for Danny O'Brien, his second win in the Adelaide Cup after winning it with Demerger in 2005. Fanatic, Anis Mirabilis, Outback Joe and Muir, which ran 3rd in 2011 in the Roy Higgins and then came to Adelaide and won the Cup with the Gouch in the saddle.
And Luke Nolan rides Berkeley Square, Tez. He also has a sensational Adelaide Cup CV.
Well, you touched on Dan O'Sullivan as well. So Luke Nolan's first ride in an Adelaide Cup was for Dan O'Sullivan. They ran second, the combination with Lacey Underall, narrowly beaten by Gallic. It was a great battle, John. They absolutely gapped the remainder of the field.
They did. It was a really high rating race, and Lacey Underall was able to come out and win next year's Cup. And going back around about that time, there were a couple of absolute peak performances. Demerger was another one who came out and won the race clearly. But, yeah, those Adelaide Cup races were very strong back in those days.
Quite ironically, Luke Nolan's second on Lacey Underall for Dan O'Sullivan. The next year he rode Kefaloo and it ran second to Lacey Underall.
Can't make it up.
He couldn't. He had a terrific record in the Cup. Lukey hasn't ridden in the Cup for quite some time, but he's yet to win it, but he gets a great chance on Berkeley.
So Berkeley Square, one of the leading chances from Victoria. Hurry Curry's a mare that's shown good ability on her day. She was good in an Oaks back in her 3-year-old season. Sorry to do this to you, John. I know you backed Bright Legend, the horse on the inside in the purple colours, at a huge price at this race a couple of Wednesdays ago at Sandown. Hurry Curry, has she got the class to win an Adelaide Cup?
Not sure, but in her favour, she's lightly raced, and trainer Danny O'Brien has rarely stepped her out past 2,000 metres, but when he has, the horse has performed very well. So it looks like she's got to be a very good chance to enjoy this distance. Obviously, what's going to put you off here, this is a midweek standard benchmark race at Sandown. Whether these horses have got the required rating level or class, as you put it, to win the race would be my big query. But you've got a few things in your favour. Danny O'Brien, Jamie Mellon, horse in form, and she's lightly raced with a good record at staying trips.
Jamie Mellon, of course, won the Cup on Dashan Sweet Junior for Phillip Stokes, but she's been second on 3 occasions, narrowly beaten on Tunes. Was that the year your mare Tidy Profit ran in the Cup?
Yep, I reckon that was 2016. And yeah, Tunes nearly a fairy tale result for Grant Young and Jamie. And
at a massive price.
I reckon, was it Purple Smile that beat her on that occasion? It was one of the Hayes horses anyway.
It wasn't Purple Smile.
It was Purple something, was it? Anyway.
I'll get back to you
we
on
could
that.
let you two blokes go all evening.
But of course, she's been second the last 2 years, Jamie.
Yeah.
On Newfoundland last year, and the year before she ran second as well.
Indeed. Speaking of, let's have a look at a recent win or recent performance of Newfoundland. So this horse brings some New South Wales form. In fact, this was his victory in the Australia Day Cup at listed level back on Australia Day. What do we make of the way this galloper's going? Can he turn the tables of what happened a year ago?
Well, Newfoundland can probably tick the box of being able to stay 2 miles. He probably had his chance to beat Silent Sorrento in that race, but he obviously ran well to run second. He's run since then, as we saw in that replay that Berkeley Square won. He finished down the track in that race. It was a below-par effort. Stewards reported up he pulled up with a slower than normal recovery, whether there was any issue there. He's actually been back and had a jump out at over 1,400 metres at Flemington since then, but that's his true form there, and he's well weighted. Berkeley Square's putting him in the race well by carrying that big weight, because all of these other horses are stuck on that minimum weight, and Newfoundland's a lot higher rated horse than them.
And the blinkers go back on as well.
Yeah.
And Tim Clark's coming here to ride.
Yes.
It's always great.
He's got a very good record on the horse also.
He has.
You were going to say something
No, it's
else?
always great when we see these riders
Absolutely.
turn up for our carnival. So, you know, Tim Clark being there's a big bonus as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Newfoundland certainly one of the key chances there. As we head to a break here on Adelaide Cup Contenders, let's relive truly one of the great wins in the Adelaide Cup, Rebel Racer, for our very own Amy and Ashiagi back in 2023.
Is back to challenge. Wide around a maid. Then Persan, Highland Jack and Stafford's Lad. Aurora Symphony gradually wearing down Rebel Racer. Rebel Racer won't surrender. Aurora Symphony tries to get him. Aurora Symphony and Rebel Racer. What a thrilling contest. Rebel Racer off the canvas to win the Adelaide Cup.
Exalted Lightning, he's run a cheeky race. He turns in front, but Naval Warfare coming after it with Bondiga and Surprise Baby launching deeper. Exalted Lightning led, Naval Warfare, now Surprise Baby, then Bondiga, top of the range running on late. Surprise Baby reached the lead from Naval Warfare, top of the range in Bondiga, but Surprise Baby, well, it's a surprise to me, and it's 6th race start. It's won the Tab Adelaide Cup. Magnificent performance. Look, I was asked to put together my top 5 Adelaide Cups since the year 2000 when I was first involved. My first Adelaide Cup called in 2000 when Behemoth won at Victoria Park. But that was number 1 for me, Surprise Baby. And for a lot of reasons, it was my Adelaide Cup call number 20. It was to be my last. I joined Racing.com a few months later. And Dean Holland in the saddle, the late Dean Holland. So there was so much about that that resonates with me. Exalted Time, my number 2 for Claire Lindop, along with the breeders Ken and Helen Smith and trainer Jim Smith in 2006. Dashan Sweet Junior, Jamie Mellon in the saddle, is my number 3 in 2022. Phillip Stokes going back-to-back in the Cup after winning it with good idea. Gallic, arguably one of the best horses to have won the Adelaide Cup since the turn of the century. We talked about that incredible battle up the home straight with Lacey Underall. That was 2007. And I had to put Silent Sorrente there. Yes, fresh in my mind, but what a moment it was for our rising star, Rochelle Milne. She was dominating the riding ranks. She was to win the Adelaide Cup for Will Clarken and Nikki O'Shea. So there you go. That's my top 5 since the turn of the century.
So that's a top 5. Let's focus on a top 4. And let's try and find the winner. Tez, kick us off.
Well, I'm going to go with Highland Bling. I've been talking a lot about Philip Stokes and his record in this race since he first had a runner. So I'm going to go with Highland Bling to go one better than he did in the Lord Reims with Lachlan Neindorf in the saddle. Newfoundland, Jamie Mellum. She's been runner-up the past 2 years, the Map and then Newfoundland. Runner-up on Tunes. And John was right, behind Purple Smile. I put my hand up. Eventually I did. I think eventually he's going to run really well for Sarah Rutton and Tegan Vorum. And I've got to put the top 8 in Berkeley Square for Dan O'Sullivan, David Peacock and Luke Nolan.
Johnny, what's your top 4 for the Adelaide Cup?
Berkeley Square's the class horse of the field, and he's coming out of the right form race, and he's not that badly weighted there, giving most of this field 5 or 6 kilos. And a lot of these horses down the bottom will be carrying an extra kilo at the weights anyway, because the jockeys can't make the weights. Highland Bling, I think he's the horse with the most improvement out of the Lord Reims. Newfoundland, if he finds his better form, he can win. And I think Dictionary's the best roughie. He should have just about won that Berkeley Square race. He's in and out, but if he puts in, he's good enough.
I'm with you, John. I see it fairly similarly. Berkeley Square on top, Highland Bling in for second, Newfoundland to go potentially one better than last year in for third, and Kamachi, if he sees out the 3,200 metres, which is clearly a question mark, then he can be thereabouts. That's my top 4. Go Berkeley Square. If you can't get to Morphettville on the Monday public holiday in Adelaide, of course, the one place you want to be is watching on Racing.com. Gents, enjoy your Adelaide Cup day.
Looking forward to it.